All right, it's ready to go. We're going to get started. So, welcome to Insider Secrets from Elite Top Shop Owners. My name is Darren Barney. I'm the CEO of Elite Worldwide. I also have my shop, Barney Brothers Off Road in Grand Junction, Colorado. I'm here today with some awesome rockstar owners and with my good friend Jim Murphy. He's our pro service facilitator and just another rockstar business coach. And Jim does so much for the industry. It's a real honor to have Jim here with us today. So, yeah, Jim, do you want to give a little bit of an introduction to yourself?
Sure. I've been facilitating groups now for 25 years. So these are several of the people that I've had the privilege and honor of working with. And I've got a pretty extensive background in coaching businesses, and both in automotive and other realms as well. And so I'm super excited to be able to share some insider knowledge as to how we work as a group, but more so maybe some takeaways that would benefit a lot of the viewers for their own businesses as well, just like we would in the group process.
That's right, Jim. And it's something that is so important. And that's why the peer groups work so well as they do, is that being able to hear good ideas and take them home and figure out what fits for you and what doesn't, and push your boundaries a little bit. So thank you so much for being here, Jim. As always, it's an honor to be sharing time with you. I always enjoy our conversations and appreciate you and all that you do for the peer group and for the rest of us as a whole. So
yeah, my pleasure.
Let's start with Miss Danielle. So, Danielle, if you want to give us a brief little introduction about yourself, that'd be great.
My name's Danielle Vila. I'm a co-owner of a shop in Las Vegas called Red Rock Repair. I was a hairdresser, and my ex-husband and I decided we wanted to buy a business. And so, being the total gearhead he is, we decided to buy an automotive repair shop. Neither of us really had any experience. He did, 100 years ago when he was 18, 19 years old. We bought an existing business that at the time we did not have a coach and didn't think about bringing in a coach to review the books with us. Business we purchased was not what it was represented to be. So the first year, I think we did $425,000 in gross revenue. We were in trouble, and an old client of mine was a business coach for a different industry. And she was the person who had actually recommended to me that I find a business coach. And so I started looking, and I came upon Elite, and we hired Elite, and Darren was actually our business coach. And, in the 6 now years, we just celebrated our 6-year anniversary, the 6 years that we have had the shop. And then the 5 years we've been working with Elite. Our expected gross revenue this year is $1.5 million. Our shop is pretty small. We've got 3 full-time technicians, 1 full-time service advisor, and a shop assistant, and myself and Sean are there full-time. And we were allowed to we were invited, I should say, to participate in pro service, and that was an absolutely incredible experience. Jim Murphy, Ben and Craig I can't even describe the contributions that they made to our business. They helped us think beyond just the single shop that we had and helped us see what is possible in this industry. And they were just incredible people to get to know. So privileged to be here.
Yeah, well, thank you, Danielle. You know how I feel about you. And yes. I mean, everybody that's attending and all the people we have that are watching this, she's a rock star owner operator, and she's paid her dues and is still paying her dues. And I'm really proud of her and really wanted her to be here so that you guys could meet her and see some of the cool things that she's accomplished. And she has great insights into the industry as well. Once again, that's the whole reason why we're doing this. We want you guys to see as shop owners that, there's different levels of success and where they're going. And that's why we're so excited to have these awesome people with us today. So next here, we've got Mr. Ben. Ben, would you mind telling everybody a little bit about you and your history?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I bought Lake City transmission muffler April 1st, 2014. So I just passed my 10-year mark on shop number 1. I was a 101 Elite client because I didn't know what I was doing when I bought my shop. So, but after what seemed like a quick 9 months, the 101 coaching had me making gigantic leaps in my capability as far as managing and running a shop and strategy and things of that nature. And then I transitioned to pro service, which is just, further tuned my ability to be a multi-shop owner. I've told Jim this week that for sure I would not be where I'm at without Jim Murphy and Pro Service. Like, I would probably just be a one shop owner, and Jim told me that he didn't see that in me. So I was like, okay, well, I'll start looking for other shops then. So I got the second shop in 2018, the third shop in 2020, and then we'll have our fourth location here no later than probably August 1st. So yeah, that's it. It's just it's unbelievable what Elite has done, again, from a one-on-one coaching standpoint, and then Pro Service to bring me where I'm at today, because there's no way I would be as successful as I've been without it. Not to say it's always been easy, not always been easy for sure, but there's always been people, beyond Jim, even guys like Craig and other guys in the group that have helped, keep you focused and keep your head on straight when you need it. So
That's right, 100%. Well, thank you, Ben. Once again, as I told Danielle and you guys earlier, it's an honor to have you on this with us. You're highly respected, and I always love being at the groups with you. And I hear some of the comments that you make, and it's always awesome to have your fire and your tell it as it is voicing. I just love it. you say things as you see them, though, and then that's a great thing. It's good to call out those things that you see. So thank you for being here with us, Ben. Appreciate it. Okay, Mr. Craig, last but not least, man.
Gonna bring it home, huh? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, so I don't know that my story is very interesting, but I'll start off. So when I was 7, I knew laying on the ground, looking up at my Schwinn bicycle, I loved mechanical items and how they used to work. And to this day, I'm fascinated by how things function. But I went to vocational school to be a technician, mechanic back in the day. That was back in, oh my gosh, 87. I immediately went to work for a family-run business, transmission shop, cut my teeth there, enjoyed it. I've always been immersed in street rods and hot rods, and so the transmission aspect of the high-performance side of it really intrigued me. At that point, I transitioned due to some family circumstances and relocated from Sacramento back to Eugene, Oregon, where I started right away with Ford Motor Company. So I spent 20 plus years with Ford Motor Company as all facets of, technician, team lead, all of that. And I knew that I love to motivate people, encourage them. I was one that didn't take no for an answer. I thought everything you can overcome. You've just got to work hard, and put your nose to the grindstone. That being said, I was headhunted by the founders of what you see there is a picture of Sun Automotive, Mike and Sherry Buckridge, who at the time, in 2011, were Pro Service members. And I at that point, I was in the middle of, do I continue down the dealer path? Do I take the jump to the independent field? And what I knew is that I just loved helping people. So when I accepted the challenge and moved over to Sun Automotive, it was immediate that Mike and Sherry had found their general manager, which was great for me. I loved it so much, got rid of the car sales and the warranty aspect of the car business, and it was all about customer service. For me, that was just an absolute adrenaline shot, because I knew that that was the one thing that I was gifted with, was the ability to connect with people. And so 2011 started off my trek, and by 2015, I'd begun conversation organically with Mike, and I'm the idiot that opened his mouth and said, if you ever thought of selling one day, well, guess what? The 2017, that in fact happened. And I can tell you this during my break of where I've been. If it was not for Pro Service and Mike and Sherry Buckridge immersing me in that right away in late 2011, I would not have been prepared to even think about buying one shop, let alone 3 in 2011 at the age of 53. So here we sit today, bought 3 of the shops that were existing that I was a general manager of in 2017. We'll get into some of the other details that I ran into the first few years of being in business, but we started off, we were at like 1.9 million for the 3 businesses. 7 years later, we are 4 stores strong. The 5th one's coming aboard January 1 with an ADOS training center, and we will be well over 6 million, and that's within 7 years. So if it wasn't for my brethren below me there, as you see them on the screen, my Pro Service brothers and sisters, I'm telling you right now, I would not be sitting where I am at the ripe old age of 60, even though I think I'm 45, but that's my story and I'm sticking to it. How's that?
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Craig. You're an awesome guy to have, and you're always really well spoken and enjoy your words as well. So thank you for being here, guys. It's once again an honor to do this and to be able to share some of your insights with our audience here today. So also want to take a second to thank our audience for being here. We know you guys are busy, and we try to aim to add value to what you're doing into your time. So thank you for being here, and let's go ahead and dive on into to some of our questions. So I think the one that I really wanted to ask you guys first is, what's the one piece of advice that you wish someone would have told you when you were first starting out? And you know what, I guess we could start with let's just start with Ben, and then we'll just kind of go around and see how it goes from there.
I didn't have anybody to get advice from, but again, my first one-on-one coach was, a successful shop owner. So I guess if you don't know what you're doing, and I had plenty of that in my pocket, if there's people who have done it and experienced certain aspects and the trials and tribulations of shop ownership, you're foolish to not take their advice. I kind of relate coaching in general and elite. I told Jim this the other night. To me, pro service and one-on-one coaching is like the gym membership hanging from the rearview mirror of the car. You can go get the gym membership January 2nd and do a New Year's resolution, but if all that thing is doing is getting baked in the sun by March, you shouldn't expect any physical improvement in your body by having that thing hang from your mirror. But if you get into coaching and tell yourself, I'm going to take in, digest, and more importantly, implement what these people who have successfully done this before tell me to do, it's not brain surgery at that point. And so it's not being lackadaisical in implementation of ideas from, again, people who've had success in this industry before is the one thing that I would say is don't wait. Don't, someone tells you to do something and you believe them, don't wait 9 months to implement it. When I had my one-on-one coaching, I would hang up from that phone call, and by the next day I was implementing, a new parts matrix or a new labor matrix, or working on a different pay plan for advisors or something like that. And I think that's why, I'm just saying in my situation, I only needed 12 months of one-on-one coaching, whereas, some people may take longer, and maybe it's because they aren't as regimented in getting things implemented that would make them a better operator.
Yep. You get that good coaching, and then you got to act on it, right?
Yeah.
And you're the only one that can change the direction you're going. Nobody else will do it for you. You got to do it yourself.
Yes.
It's awesome. That's great. Thank you, Ben. Great insights. Danielle, would you want to go next?
I absolutely like to second everything Ben said. For me, what coaching, beyond teaching us how to run our shop and all of the mistakes that we were making, it was also about teaching us to have goals in mind and also how to stay focused on those goals. And our goals have changed over the years quite a bit. And, at this point now, my goal still long-term is to have a second shop. And that's why, pro service is such a wonderful asset, for me, when the time comes that I can, get back into it. But having an accountability partner who is not in your business, who is not in the trenches with you day to day, they don't hear or see all of the things that kind of muddy the waters for you. Like Ben said, we'll get off the phone with our coach, and have over the years with Darren, and we have these ideas. Okay, let's do this, and then things happen. You've got people that you're trying to deal with that are challenging those changes that you're trying to make, and having your coach who is not there and doesn't care about what your employees really are concerned about, because the coach's focus is getting you to your goal, whatever that goal is. They help you establish those goals, and then they help you work towards them. That has been vital to us. I mean, we have really seen an explosion this year, and 2 years, or I guess 3 years now before, in our business. And it was almost too much for us. We kind of felt like we were drowning, and Darren really helped us kind of make sure that we stayed the course. Our current coach, Mark, same thing. And, to some degree, if I own a business, I will always have a coach, because I need that accountability partner.
Yeah. accountability is important, right?
Yeah, very.
Yeah. And it helps us to make sure we stay focused. Life takes us sideways sometimes in the shop, and it's nice having that, knowing you got somebody to pull you back in and make sure you're going the right direction. So
Yeah, and see the bigger picture.
that's right. Exactly. Great. Thank you, Danielle. Mr. Craig.
I've got two actually that are great and are applicable, and they're actually the same. So the first one is, most everybody has heard about Wayne Gretzky, right? He didn't skate to where the puck is. He always used to skate to where it was going to be. Yeah. So the two pieces of advice that are really important for me was that, just like a car, right? You don't want to spend too much time focusing on the rearview mirror. You only use it for information, and you don't want to miss what's coming ahead, right? In the same vein, I am always a big one for, don't focus on what's going on today. You need to always focus on what's going to happen tomorrow, because if you're ahead of the curve, you're prepared in a better way.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, that's good. Always look ahead, right?
Always look ahead.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Craig. Mr. Jim, what questions would you like to ask these guys?
So I think that what would be good to start out initially is, I'd like to find out from one or two of them what their end game is for them and their business. So maybe starting out with Craig, so what I think what's really important is thinking about the end in mind, and that's one of the things that we certainly work on within the group, and looking at focusing on goal setting. So I think it would be insightful for others to get some understanding as to what is your end game. So as you continue to keep moving forward and you're looking at adding the 5th location, where are you headed?
Okay, Mr. Murphy, I'm going to say not just the coach, but the best coach ever. And everybody on the panel and everybody listening out there is probably going to concur. That is probably a great question, not only right now for me, but for everybody else out there. So I'm an open book, as most of you know. So back in late September, first week October, basically I almost died. I should have. I had blood clots, and so they were resolved. I'm perfectly fine, by the way. But it has you step back and focus on what's important, right? So as Jim asks the question, prior to that, I'm like, okay, here we go. 6, 7, what, gosh, how far is enough? I'm thinking I got to keep up with Ben, right? So, I got to start thinking ahead of the box. So when that happened, it had me reevaluate some priorities in life. Now, to give you some context to this, I was one that was 150 miles an hour or sleep. And my family definitely took the brunt of that, both as a technician, even as my early days as a GM and ownership, right? And I'm still involved. But what it's allowed me to do is refocus on the things that are important in my life at my stage, now just turning 60. So what's the end game? So the end game for me is, right now I'm in the middle of preparing myself for close to what would be called remote ownership. And I think a year ago, that wouldn't have been the same answer, because I think that we get so focused on what's going on in the front windshield, we don't remember to pull over and take the coffee break. And that's been a reminder and a big hit to me, is that, you know what, I'm going to start taking some coffee breaks and enjoying traveling a little bit and enjoy time with the family. So that's kind of where I am right now, Jim, based upon things that just happened, right? I think that it's a good lesson that everybody step back and say, you know what, if tomorrow somebody upstairs come knocking at your door, did you do what you wanted to do? I think it makes you reevaluate the question. Hopefully that answers that question, Jim.
Okay, I think it's for you. I think that's really, really good. So Ben's in a different state of at a period of time in his life, and so I'm kind of curious, as you start to look forward, same type of question. I have so many different business models that I coach. The one that is probably the largest is at 76 stores, and so learning how to scale and grow a business, and how to manage people, is obviously all the key areas. But again, what's the end game? And so for you, Ben, I'm kind of curious as well. Where are you headed? Are we going to look at conquering northern Idaho?
We talked about that a little bit the other night, didn't we?
We did.
Uh, I think the problem for me is I do to a certain degree want to stick to North Idaho, so that limits limits what, just from a demographic and geographic standpoint, what what I'm capable of, or what I'm limiting myself to, I should say. But then again, probably 3 years ago, I would have had a different answer, kind of like Craig said, he's had a different answer in the last 12 months. So I don't know. I think I'd like to just keep moving north, and probably one of my targets would be, and I think with this newer shop being more Euro based, I want to have maybe some shops that are more segmented in their in what they're not so diversified, not an all makes, all models thing. I'm gonna, try to have a shop that's more diesel specific, and a shop that's more general maintenance, and then this shop's going to be more Euro based. I think that would be something for us. I mean, given the fact that I don't intend on rebranding the next acquisition to a Lake City Auto Care store anytime soon. So if I choose to keep going down that path, I keep stores, either keep the name or change them, I can probably segment that a little better. But I think I'm with Craig, even though Craig's way, way, way older than me. I do want to spend more time, with my kids, and be able to do, like I just volunteered to coach Lake City Auto Care's 7-year-old baseball team in the city of Hayden. So that's the kind of thing that you don't get time back for that. And you talk about absentee ownership, like here lately, I would say probably in the last 5 or 6 months, I've only been needed 10 hours or less at my main store, or just everybody seems to have stepped up. And I don't know if that's just luck or just leadership, that everyone's like, hey, we got this. You don't need to fix this, or you shouldn't be cleaning I mean, I'll clean the toilets. I don't have a problem with that, but like, you don't need to mow the grass anymore. You don't need to do that kind of thing. So, it's weird how fast that has happened in 10 years. Like, it's taken 10 years of just slogging it and hard work and staying late and doing this. And now in like the course of 5 months, it's like, it's dialed back so much. So it's given me the opportunity to do things that I want to do. And I kind of agree with Craig, like, you only got one chance at this. So, if you're successful and it allows you to do so, spend more time with family and taking trips and things like that.
That's important.
Yeah.
It is.
At the end of the day, that's what matters, is the family stuff. I mean, it's
Yes.
about people. You're those kids that you've got telling us about going for a ride with Jim when you're riding around the Grand Canyon,
Yeah.
It's awesome you built the business. You have multiple locations, yet you still have the time to go out and do that stuff and be away from the shop and have it not be burning down in flames around you,
Correct. Yeah. I mean, even with this next acquisition, there's things that my banker has needed or things like that. And like my administrator, Jessica, who's been with me 9 years since she started with me when she was 17, like she now handles all the EIN and all the tax ID stuff for, when we start a new shop. So it's like, doesn't even need much guidance when it comes to acquiring a new store. That's kind of the autonomy we have right now. So, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, don't be too shy to look beyond the borders of Idaho, because it's pretty interesting. As I've coached different guys, they'll say that they're going to stay within a certain geographical area, and then they suddenly get a taste for how well it goes, and then their sites, so who knows? It could be, to where you're in Western Montana, or who knows what.
That's true.
You never know. So once we get the one area conquered, again, it's not a bad thing to look beyond certain borders.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good advice, Jim.
Yeah. Darren, what else did you
we need to ask Danielle.
Oh yeah, okay. So that's true. So Danielle, same thing.
So
allergies.
No. I'm not crying. No. My challenge with thinking long term is 10 years from now, I think kind of like Ben, we've talked about it extensively with Darren over the years that, Las Vegas is this little pocket and there's nothing beyond it unless we get down into Arizona. And for us, I mean, we've considered another location and, as well. There's pockets around town that we think would be a really great option for us. And, ideally I want at least 2 locations, potentially more, but thinking back, like Craig said, we have to stop looking in the rearview mirror. I mean, I still look in the rearview mirror at what the experience was like for us. And it was so difficult and unexpectedly difficult for us, that, I am still kind of working through this with fear, but if I don't worry about that and I just have faith in what we do and that we're doing the right thing and we've done what we've done so far really well, I don't really have an idea in mind how many stores I would like. I would like to get to a place where, like Craig and Ben, I don't have to go in. Not only do I not have to go in every day, but we have the right people in place to run our business for us. And what is the goal for any of us who go into business? It's freedom, financial freedom, and time to do what you want to pursue, whatever you like. And that, in a really abstract way is my goal. I would like to not have to run my business day to day. And we have stellar people that work for us now. And, I think we need to expand the current shop that we're in now, and then start looking to a second and additional location. But we have to be in the right position to do that. And that's what we're working towards right now, is getting ourselves financially ready so that when we do decide to get into that second location, it won't be such a struggle for us and it won't feel like we're, drowning in debt essentially. So I don't have that picture painted just yet, but I do know that it is multiple locations because obviously with Pro Service and meeting so many wonderful multi-shop owners, that really seems like the goal for to have the kind of freedom that I want to have and experience. It is in multiple shops. So
That's great. That's good. Like I said, Danielle, it always changes too. It's part of life.
it does.
We set these
It
goals,
does.
you go forward and then you adapt as you go and change course. Just like Craig said just a little bit ago. I mean, that's scary, Craig. And by the way, I'm really glad that you're doing better. You and I have already talked about this, but I'm really glad that, things work better and we got to take care of ourselves at the end of the day. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
We get burned out and all the things that go along with that and our team affected. And our families get affected. We got to take care of ourselves. And that's important. So, I guess that's, that's a good question. I know that, that this is kind of an odd question, but how do you guys take care of yourselves? How do you make sure that you don't get burned out? What are your thoughts there, Craig? What are you doing now?
I could tell you that, oddly, I tease Ben a lot, but let me tell you something. Ben actually reminds me a lot of myself. I am like, I can't sit still. Like we are constant. I watch him. I'm like, dang it, I'm watching myself because we're constantly thinking about stuff all the time. Now, the one thing that's interesting about your question is that for the longest time, I think I was operating as in 2 ways. One, I was determined to change the image of the automotive industry for sure, because I think that for the longest time, I unfortunately, the industry just, took itself down. Now, that being said, at the same time, I always felt like I had to prove something. Like I constantly had to prove something. And it wasn't until about probably 2 years ago where I finally looked myself in the mirror and like, you know what? I don't have to prove anything anymore. And the one thing that kind of stuck out to me a long time ago, what the heck was his name? He was a speaker down in Florida. Richard, is it Kinnison? Anyway, he said, make your presence present when you're not present. Right.
Yeah.
And so it dawned on me that the culture set, the people are doing, just like Ben said, right? People are doing what you need them to do, but they're also doing it because they want to do it for you. Once you reach that sweet spot, it's amazing how much you can actually say, you know what? It's okay to go at 60 and enjoy life a little bit. So
right.
There you go.
That's right. It's important. It's nothing wrong with comparing yourself to those around you, but does it really matter?
It,
You know,
it
we got to
doesn't
keep
really.
moving forward. We got to make sure that we're happy with what we're doing and not get lost in all the confusion and the, you know, I love the book Blue Ocean Strategy and talking about how there's blood in the water everywhere around you because there's so much competition.
Yep.
But the thing is that if we got our own goals and our own dreams and our vision of where we're going, that's what matters at the end of the day.
Correct. Correct. Tune out the white noise, right? Right, Ben?
Exactly.
Tune out the white noise.
What do you think, Ben? What are you doing to take care of yourself?
You know, I just try to, I mean, speaking for my better half, who's also the co-owner, Nicole and I try to, you know, go to the gym 3 or 4 days a week, and then weather permitting in North Idaho, it's you know, spending time outdoors and hiking, and then being participants in our young kids' lives. And then oddly enough, even though I didn't come from the path that a lot of the guys did, I was never a technician. I mean, I can put an engine together and things like that just because I like doing that. But like, I irritate my foreman who used to work for Craig consequently by having to work on some of my own personal projects. I always have multiple vehicles and various parts and pieces that I'm building for myself, or I'm building a CJ7 for my daughter right now. So from a recreational hobby standpoint, it's really great to have every tool at your disposal by owning a shop, because then your addiction and hobby is fulfilled by the junkie that is your own business, because of all the tools,
There is so much truth to that.
All the tools are like, why shouldn't I build a car from the ground up? I don't have to buy any specialty tools, you know? So, so that's the other thing is, wasting a lot of money on personal vehicles is the other thing that makes me get
That's
up
cool.
every day.
Well, don't forget, you ever need help with that CJ, let me know, okay?
I know you're in there. I know.
It's terrible. It's like being a gambling addict and you own a casino. It's horrible.
Terrible. It's terrible. Yeah.
It's so horrible.
Yeah. Especially when, like me, I have my auction license. So if I need something for an LS swap, I can just go buy a 200,000-mile Tahoe that's got a salvage title and have everything I need on the vehicle to put it in something else, you know? So yeah, it's a bit of an addiction.
That's right. I was talking to a shop owner yesterday and he called me about doing LS swaps, and it was just like, he's like, well, I just love doing it. And I'm like, well, good. That's all right. Nothing wrong with that. You know, it's a good thing. Yeah. You love doing it, do it, play with it, you know, but that's cool. Miss Danielle, how about you?
Well, I'm laughing because Sean at the shop right now is probably feeling very attacked. He is the same as both Ben and Craig. He is a complete gearhead. He is getting his truck ready for race week. He leaves in a week and a half, I guess, for race week. And you know, for him, it's just gear, you know, anything with an engine in it, and he's interested in it. So for him, how does he kind of escape it? He goes to the shop and he works by himself and he works on his passion projects. And, you know, yeah, one of our few lifts is usually occupied by one of his trucks or his vehicles. And for me, it's really about being able to focus on my family and my friends and spending time with them, because when we took over the shop, we were just buried in it and didn't know how to do that. We were so overwhelmed. And so I'm, you know, rekindling friendships that I let fall by the wayside. And, you know, reading things that really just allow me to kind of be quiet, because when you're in the office and you're helping customers, like I still am, you know, it's just like you guys say, it's a lot of white noise. And so I appreciate the ability and the opportunity to actually just have quiet time by myself. And that's typically when, you know, my brain starts going back to work and to the shop and what can we do to improve. And for me, it's really just, I hate the term, but it is about self-care and just being by myself. So
well, you know, and you're not good to anybody if you're burned out and you're overstressed and you're overworked and you don't ever get away. You don't get any fresh inspiration. You know, you're working in the business rather than on the business, as we always talk about, right?
Yes.
And it's just hard to do that sometimes.
It is. And like Craig said, our jobs is to be a leader. And how do you lead if you feel like you're drowning?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Can I piggyback a little bit on what Danielle said, Darren?
Yeah, of course, Craig.
I think this is applicable to what I experienced, you know, back with the blood clots. And I'm going to piggyback on what Danielle said. And I think I said this at the Pro Service conference, which is if you knew you were going to die, all of those things that you think about with regards to telling those around you how much you appreciate them, I'm going to encourage everybody listening today. You need to actively do that now. Verbally tell those people who have been influential in your life how much you appreciate them, the loved ones around you, and engage with them, because that, in essence, don't have that be in the rearview mirror. Get
Yeah.
that in the front windshield.
Yeah.
And it is so it's so gratifying to be able to make sure you connect with those who are important to you. I'll leave it at that.
You know what, Craig, though? I was a recipient of one of those phone calls from you.
Yes, you were.
You know how much that meant to me?
Um,
It did. It meant
okay.
the world to me, because
Okay.
it's like you just called and I was like, oh, that's cool. Craig's calling. And then I get this great message and it's like, it meant the world to me, man.
Yep.
I mean, that's the thing, is that just like you said, just taking the time to do that, though, it really makes people's lives better.
Yeah, it's funny. I was listening to my mom, who's 83, and back in her generation, the only way to communicate was to write letters, and she was a avid letter writer. And it made me think about, well, now wait a second. There's so much technology at our fingertips to be able to continue that somewhat connection and tradition. And it worked. So yeah.
You know, it's awesome though, Craig. You did that for me, and you know what? I did the same thing for Danielle a couple months ago. I was at STX and I'm walking around and we're doing this stuff, and I grabbed my cell phone and I recorded a quick video for her, and I just sent it to her about telling her how much I appreciated her and I know all the hard work she's put in. And I mean, it's just funny though that passed down and it's gone down, Craig. It didn't stop with me; it went on, and I've done it for my brothers. I've done it for a bunch of people. I just send a quick video and just say, hey, thank you so much for being who you are and for what you know. Being an inspiration, whatever it is, so thank you for that.
You're
It's
welcome.
great. I love it. Great challenge to those of you in the audience that are watching this. Take the time to do that to your people. Let them know you appreciate them. Let your wife know you appreciate her. Let your kids know. I mean, we're highly focused people. We're always getting things accomplished and done, and sometimes we forget about those important things.
Correct.
Great. Okay, good answers, guys. Jim, what other questions you have? You want to ask them?
So I'm curious, and I just throw it out to all three of them. So here we are, we're talking about trying to create time, right? And so in order to accomplish that, we know that we have to have good people, and especially those within a management role that can take the reins and move the business along in your absence. So I'm curious, what are you doing to train new managers into your organization? So and whether it's your new managers or existing managers, how do you continue to keep empowering them and training them so that they're effective in your absence? And I'll throw that to any one of you.
Ooh, how about if I jump in and then they can tail end, because I'm going through that literally right now. I've been one who's been keen on culture, as most of you guys here know. I'm a huge culture guru. However, now as you go into transitioning to be absent, then okay, how do you get out what's in your head into basically a playbook, right? So you have three different elements. You've got structure, you got leadership, and you got to have good people around you to be able to have all three of those work. And I'm going through that right now with regards to the tasks of getting everything out of my head so that it's in front of the management team to be able to implement, and then others can refer to it so that I'm not getting the phone call, or even Josh is not getting a phone call. And then on top of that, Josh, by the way, is my general manager, wonderful guy.
Awesome.
And he is also now implementing through FYI, Mike Davidson and leadership courses. We are getting everybody at the store level in regards to their abilities to be a leader at the store. So now Josh is freed up as well. So you can see how this is kind of being passed down. So I think the biggest one is structure, get out of everything that's in your head into a playbook, and have everybody on the same page as the team.
And then on a follow-up on the playbook, how's the playbook being created?
Well, in my particular case, Jeff Odom, who was at the time a pro service member for years, good friends with him. He is one that handles what's called Way We Do. In regards to Way We Do, we are taking everything out of here and putting it down there. And we've been spending the last week, but the next 4 weeks together, very detail oriented with regards to utilizing all of the access that he has from other shops, by the way, in regards to processes that are really quick, and you could get a template and go with it. So it's really a time saver at the same time, but it's putting that structure together. I think that's going to be so important going forward for anybody even considering a second location, right? Structure, right? It's the McDonald's approach.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really key. You bring up a good point, utilizing some type of an electronic format to be able to have an SOP process. The things I really like about it is being able to utilize it in such a manner where you can have video content, for example, because some certainly, reading the verbiage in an SOP manual compared to actually having video content that will help them to better understand the process, I think is really, really good. One of the things that just as a tip for the audience as well, which I think was kind of cool, is that he's now creating QR codes. So if I have a lift that is in need of service for whatever that means, right? So then I have a QR code that I just scan with my phone, and I have all the immediate contact information, right? Because that QR code is labeled on that hoist or on that AC machine or whatever it might be. And so it makes it super simple for the staff. They don't have to go somewhere else or ask, who do I call when the AC machine's down? They can just be empowered, scan the QR code, and then the contact information's right there, and they just make the appointment and get somebody out to handle it right away. So I think having that kind of structure works extremely well, especially in electronic form like that.
Yeah. Why would you not utilize that, right, Jim?
Right. I think
I mean,
it's great.
seriously.
Yeah.
New technician starts and he wants to know how to do something, and he can just go up and scan that QR code. What an awesome way to do it.
Yeah. and then be able to have the video pop up as to how to properly operate the equipment.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. From an orientation standpoint. So even relieving your managers, I think is a great way of handling that. So what other ideas from a training standpoint for new managers and their development are any other suggestions from Ben or Danielle on how you're looking at training people up?
What we do is we've kind of made my Hayden shop, which is my reporting shop, sort of it's just kind of like the training area. So if you have a new advisor that starts, we'll just put them on a probationary, pay structure for whatever, 30 days, usually not any more than that. And then they just train there because my general manager is there. And that way we can have total oversight. And of course, TechMetric allows us to log in anywhere and look at repair orders at any shop. But anyway, it allows a lot more oversight from seasoned service advisors or my general manager to make sure that the person is following the processes and that because for us, like DVIs are like what we're known for, and we have a fairly robust ARO, particularly at that shop. So, but we want that to move to the smaller locations as well. So we just feel like if we have somebody within an arm's reach for 30 days, that they're going to get an expedited learning process in the way we want to do things. And if they have any habits that maybe they develop somewhere else that we don't particularly care for, we can rectify that a lot faster so they don't try to implement something that we're not a fan of based off their prior experience. So, and we do have, of course, we have a service advisor, operating manuals, and we also do the same thing on the technician side. So, if we have especially younger guys, if they're new, we're trying to see if we think there's any potential there. They will also start at my Hayden location, and then my foreman will shadow them for 30 days to make sure that they're doing the proper inspection. And then if they do go out and go to one of the smaller shops, we're in a position now because of the multiple stores that my foreman will spend a day a week on rotation. This is going to be implemented even more so, where you can go out and spend time with those technicians, train them on diagnostic procedures, and just make sure they're doing the inspections and the repairs the way we want them to be done. So yeah, it's just, I think what people probably get into, it's easy to do. It's been done in the past with us. It's just turning someone loose. Like, oh, we got a warm body, they're not room temperature. We're going to turn them loose now. And then everyone goes, oh, hell, after 45 days, well, we got to find someone else, but it didn't work out. But really, did you ever give the person the opportunity, the training they really needed to be successful, run it the way you do? And I think a lot of times when someone fails, it's not that person that you hired that failed. It's the manager and the development of that person that ultimately failed.
Right.
Great. I like it.
Yeah.
Danielle, any comments at all that you can add to that?
I'll piggyback on what both Craig and Ben have spoken about. First and foremost, for us, it's about culture and making sure that, like Craig said, the industry doesn't necessarily have the best reputation. And how do we change that? First, we have to change that within the people that work for us. And our current service advisor is he is incredible at what he does. And he's worked for dealerships. He's worked for a local multi-chain family store. And bringing him in and helping him understand what we do and why we do things. He comes from kind of a turn and burn sort of shop where you get people in, they can wait on their oil changes, and it's not the wrong way. It's just not how we do things. And when he first started with us, it was 3 full days of he and I just working one-on-one while still trying to, kind of oversee what was going on in the front. And, since then, the idea that, Sean and I have in the back of our head is that when we do have a second location, he will stay on at the current location that we have right now. And we will, have the trust and confidence that nothing will change whatsoever with anything that we do, because he will know what we do and why. That's the other side of it, is helping him understand why we do things differently. And alternatively, taking some suggestions from him about, streamlining things. He's really helped us in that regard. But for me at this point, because we are so small still, it really is just about helping people understand what we do and why we do it. And we take the opportunity to work one-on-one with new technicians coming in, teach them our DVI software, explain what the expectation is for how we fill those out. Because like Ben, we're really well known for our inspection process and testing. We're a very heavy diagnostic shop, making sure that our technicians understand how we need things written up so that the service advisor has everything that he needs to, arm himself for that conversation with the customer. For us, it really was about starting with the culture and hiring people with the same kind of culture in mind that they wanted. And then growing upon that, I'm in the process and have been for about a year now, working on manuals and things like that, so that we don't have to be there. I don't have to be there. And when someone has a question, why do we do this? There needs to be some point of reference for your employees that they can quickly go to, whether, that QR code is an incredible idea. And something short and to the point. Nobody wants to spend 40 minutes trying to get to the bottom of how to write up the service order correctly.
That's right.
Cool.
And I think thank you, Danielle. I think that brings up the next good question, though. A lot of you guys have gone through, especially Craig and Ben. How do you guys find good managers? What's the way for those people out there that are looking for a good manager or somebody to replace somebody, whatever it may be? How have you guys found good managers?
Ooh, I'll chime in on this one because I
usually go to the bartender because they're good communicators. So you go hang out with a bartender and you go, "You're my guy."
But that doesn't mean he can fix a car, right?
So, no, we don't need him to fix a car, just fix people.
That's right.
That's right. So here, I'm going to tell you, here's the secret sauce. The one thing that was tough in the beginning was I was one of the colts in colts, meaning young horse, in the gates ready to go. Yeah. And I couldn't start to affect my employees until after purchase. I saw the writing on the wall. And so the first 3 years was getting through having the right people in place. So, right, my biggest piece of advice as part of looking into the future, growing stores and all of that, culture hire. I'm just telling you right now, it is developing your skill set to expose people for who they are. Because if you don't develop that skill, the amount of time wasted on the hopes of training somebody to be the person you want, I'm telling you, that is the one thing you need to focus the heaviest on, is developing your skills for hiring so that time's not lost. At the same time, developing your culture so that your internal people speak for themselves. So we go to a manager, right? Well, if your manager on board with the same skill set to be able to identify the people that are going to fit the culture, then you start to develop some comfort because you are experiencing what Ben's experiencing. They're doing what they want to do, not what they need to do. It's what they want to do for you. And that's the big key factor right there.
Great answer. Mr. Ben, what do you think?
I really don't have anything else to add to what Craig said. Yeah, he spoke before me, so I was gonna say pretty much verbatim what he had. So yeah, sorry.
No, that's fine. No problem at all. it's one of those things that I know that's a big common. It's something that we hear a lot is, from shop owners and people that we work with. It's like, how do we find good people? How do we find those rock stars, the ones that are going to help us to take the business to the next level?
And a lot of it is just, I mean, I guess to piggyback on it is, some of it's luck. I mean, you do, I hate to use the word luck, because I feel like everybody that's ever earned anything did it not out of luck, they did it out of hard work. But I would be lying if I said we haven't burned to a lot of people that you had a lot of hopes for. And then, the honeymoon period's over and you get 6 months in and it's like, oh man, it really didn't work out the way I'd hoped. But, in my case, with my general manager being there, what's 7 years, and Jessica being there for, 9 years, like, I mean, like I look at Jessica, she came in as a part-time person to answer the phone and check people out at the age of 17 when she was done with school in the afternoon. That's not the normal, like, that's not the normal path. I would guess I'm an outlier when it comes to, like, now I can turn her loose and she does all of our books and prepares all the stuff for the CPA for taxes. And all of that has just been, she's taken no courses really. That's all just been self-motivation. The want, I think to a certain degree, she was happy to get the job that she got. And that as I grew, as the company grew, I kind of just pulled her along. And so I think, in that case, that person appreciates the opportunity they've been given. So,
Well, you pulled her along, but she also had to have grasped it and ran with it, or otherwise you wouldn't have kept her on,
Totally. I mean, she's just an intelligent person that quickly, I mean, as far as, setting up, shop software and prepackaged jobs and doing the books and doing the payroll and stuff like that. Like, it's, I mean, there's got to be a lot of gray matter between the ears to be able to entrust somebody to do that. And, she's made mistakes and I've told her as such, but, it's like 95% of the time things are going to, you can pick things apart, but one thing is becoming an owner, stepping away more, I think, is that you have to become okay with people doing things 80% of the way you would have done it yourself. Because if you're a person that constantly scrutinizes the way something got done after the fact and the way you would have done it, I don't think multi-store ownership is probably in your DNA, because you can't nitpick everything everyone did and say, well, I would have done it. It's like you're going to drive them crazy, you're going to drive yourself crazy. So that's one thing I would say too on this. Anyway, we shouldn't go down this path, is being comfortable with other people doing things, and you have to be comfortable in your own mind of what you will accept as far as how accurate it would have been to the way you would have done it.
Of course, we got to willing to let go, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a realization that, if everybody did the job like we would do the job, we wouldn't need half the positions that we need, right? So therefore, to understand that, look, those people aren't just going to be us. Once you get over that hurdle, you're good. But I will say this, Ben. So you know what the definition of luck is, right? Definition of luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So there's some strategery in luck. The other thing that I would say is back to kind of managing and then hiring people as well, Darren, which obviously Mr. Greg Skolnick very, very well. He is a pro service member. He's also a coach. He once told me, and this absolutely turned the light bulb on in my head early on. He said, you look for the one reason not to hire. You don't look for the three to hire. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. Because it's the one reason you pick out that ends up being the worst one, and that ends up being the problem. So just food for thought from a pro service colleague.
Well, no, and that's something, that attitude part of this equation is huge though, because you get that one cancer, that guy that loves to burn things down. That's the guy that you got to get rid of, and that's the hard part. I mean, he may be a good performer, but you know what? You got that bad guy in there, and how damaging is that to the brand, to you, to your employees, to your customers? It's something we got to pay attention to. And I think that when we're doing those interviews, if you're hearing them talk bad about their previous employer and talking about all the things that were bad, that's a big red flag. We need to pay attention to that. Get them out of there. We don't want to hire somebody like that. Let them go be a cancer somewhere else. So yeah, good. Okay. Wonderful. What other comments do you guys have on that? Do you want to go move on to something else, Jim, or what other questions do we have?
Well, I don't, if that one's exhausted, then I think let's move up the the altitude, and let's talk a little bit about what keeps him up at night, right? So if we're all looking at growing, right? I know that Ben's concerned about the presidential election, but other than that, let's not go down that path. But what keeps you up at night when you're thinking about, your future growth? We've got to be strategists, right? In the way that we're going to be approaching things over the next couple of years. What do you see as possible disruptions that you're trying to minimize within your organizations as you move forward? What's keeping you up at night thinking about it?
Oh, go ahead.
I'll just really quickly, because this is the one thing that consistently keeps me up and has, when you have wonderful people, it's the potential loss of one of those wonderful people. And, we've been through the ringer with service advisors, had, like Darren said, we've had cancers in our business before. And, learning the skill to spot that as early as possible is extremely helpful. But, when you have stellar people and, the superstars that they like to be, like they like to call them in the industry, losing one of them is extremely painful for a business. And, the adage of, slow to hire and quick to fire. Well, when, it feels like, you're just at this point of loss, when you have somebody missing that was such a huge contributor to your business, that is what continually keeps me up at night. We have wonderful people, and any one of them would be a big loss to us. So, and they say it a lot, but it's really true, keeping that pipeline open, making sure that you're meeting people and you're getting your name out there for potential employees, so that when an opportunity for someone to come and work for you pops up, you have, hopefully a list of people that you can reach out to and find out if it's the right time for them to move on, to come be a part of your team. That is the one thing that keeps me up more than anything.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then probably the one that is, this is everybody that's on this meeting or this call knows, is technicians. You just never know. But at the same time, we canned a technician who was a cancer. He was my number one producing technician in January, but it was like the guy's attitude was garbage and he was spreading it about the shop. So, no people is better than horrible people. So, but it's just, I think that's the biggest thing is, for me, is keeping me up at night as technicians. And then the other thing is, as far as like growth is, you know, trying to keep your financial house in order. And when you're a business owner, your personal financial guide, dictates what you're going to do as far as a business. So it's like, it's easy to go out and you'd want to go buy yourself a new Super Duty or something like that. But like for me, driving my 215,000 mile 2001 Toyota Tacoma with peeling paint on it gets me from point A to point B at a cost per mile a lot less than anything else that's out there. And that money that I save by not trying to, spend frivolously is money that I can use then to reinvest and then make, that's down payment money. And and it's funny to watch, like from shop one to now shop four, particularly when there's real estate involved, is how much being frugal minimizes the economic pain of the next acquisition, because now you've saved your money and you're paying, putting more money down, and then you're just paying less in interest, and then that in itself is going to allow you to get that one cleaned out faster, and then it's going to start snowballing. Like I hope that one point, like in 10 years, I don't have any more business debt, and then or real estate debt, and then man, it's just going to be off to the races. Particularly, I think we'll start seeing a transition here, and now up to the next probably 8 as long as 10 years, where a lot of shops are just going to close, and there's going to be a lot of opportunities probably to actually buy businesses at a steep discount, because they didn't keep up with the times, or the technicians have all retired, or the owners retired, or a combination such, and that to me, it wouldn't be that unrealistic to see an exponential explosion in shop acquisition over the next 5 to 8 years because of the kind of the market forces right now. So,
Yeah.
and so I try to, again, that's the thing I try to do is try to be mindful of what we're spending money on, because it's better have a little extra money in the bank account than not, in my opinion. So,
It's that security of knowing that things can get rough and you're still okay.
yep.
You know, I mean,
Mhm.
really, that's a huge blessing. Huge blessing.
Yep.
Yeah. Great. Great comment. Mr. Craig or Danielle? I guess Danielle already answered, but
Danielle over there. So Craig, what keeps me up at night? You know what? I'll tell you what. So I'm huge, as I stated earlier, on looking out the windshield. So I've always been keen on what's going on. What's going on both in my community I serve, what's going on nationally in regards to the pulse of the country. Interestingly enough, right? At the same time, as a technician, it kicks into gear as to, okay, what's coming down the pike? So for me right now, what keeps me up at night is, well, how am I going to prepare the company to be in a successful place in 5 to 10 years, right? So what does that look like? For me, the current risk is I am preparing for my 5th location, which is on its face, an internal ADOS center for our 4 current locations. That's number 1. That's about 75% of the desire there. And the other 25% is a keen focus on keeping my technicians and staff trained. So what does that look like? So for me, I'm tired of worrying about what's coming externally from the industry to me for training. I want to be able to control that. We talk about culture, right? Now I want to be able to control the training aspect of it. So I'm taking a risk on all the research I've done to be able to at least identify a net zero with regards to the ADOS needs that are coming down the pike, which will open up the ability for us to be able to service fleets because of our expertise in that field, and then develop the 25% for the training center. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that I want to be prepared for what's coming down the pike technically, so that everybody internally is ready to go. Not, you know what, we'll just wait for an ADOS problem to show up. No, I want to be ready now, because I think the explosion from what's happening with vehicles, just to give everybody a sense, anybody who's a technician understands, from 2019 on up, all vehicles must be able to communicate with one another, so that when all of the safety systems are deployed, they want to know, another car wants to know what another car is, right? All right, so what keeps me up at night? It is the ability to forecast where the puck is going to be. That's what keeps me up at night. Keep ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Hopefully that answered the question, by the way.
I think it does.
It does. Yep. Well, that's great. I like it.
Going to the where the puck is going. I mean, not chasing the puck, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very fortunate on the personnel side of it. I know Danielle talked about, her experiences, and Ben as well, with people that we have churned and burned, right? I don't like that. And I have to say that everything that I've been able to do, not to necessarily dislocate my arm and pat myself in the back, the one thing I have been able to do is to create a culture where if there's a void, because of my ability to network, I can plug out a text and communicate with all of those that I continue to communicate with. And we have not had to put an ad out for an advisor or technician for 8 years. So that's the one thing I can lend to, all of those young owners, right? Just build your culture so where your internal people talk to one another, and it takes time, but you'll get to a point where people won't be a problem. Take confidence in that.
Great. So we got a good question here that I think might be right up you guys' alley. It says, how are you prospecting potential new locations?
Ben,
What do you guys think? Yeah, Ben.
Ben.
Let's hear it.
Every one of them, other than the first shop, second one, I went out looking for the shop, had the broker that sold me the first one find it, and it was just more so distance from my first location. And I looked at something that had high car count and a lot of drive-by traffic, because the grass is always greener. My first shop, up until a few years ago, had a hayfield across the street and no traffic. So I was like, well, I don't like that, so I'm going to go find one that has a lot of traffic, because that's always going to be so much better. And then you find out that you can really make do with a shop anywhere is what I've come to find out. And then the third one, that was just somebody was looking to get rid of just the business only, and it got dropped in my lap for the price of a used Toyota Corolla. And then the fourth shop was, oddly enough, this at my wife's morning workout class at the local gym. I go to it once in a while. The guy just wanted to sell us his shop, and he was the one we're buying. So, I would say the the things I look for were like the current shop we're going to buy is really financially well off, so it's like that's kind of a no brainer. But sometimes it's kind of good to get one that you see once you dive into the financials and you look at parts or labor margins or pay plans or uh, traffic counts or things like that, you think the pieces are there. I know from my experience and what I've learned, I can build something then that's better what's going on right now. So um, if you have really good reviews and for the most part the parking lot's full, but the owner's not making money, well then you can fix the rest of it. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, a full parking lot really is the hardest. That's the hardest part, in my opinion, and the rest of it can all be done on the back end on a shop operating system, and that's again, Craig and everyone else would say the same thing. That's why we've had the success we've had because Elite's the best at telling you what to do and when to do it, and that's again, I wouldn't have shot number 4 coming on if I didn't follow the instruction of Elite. So,
Right.
yeah.
And Captain Jim.
Yeah. Well, I had one guy that I had coached for a number of years who grew to 14 stores, and biggest piece of advice that he always gave other guys in the group was because he did not have an automotive background. He came from the steel industry, and he said, as you're looking at putting together deals with other, to acquire other stores, make sure it's such a good deal that a steel guy couldn't screw it up. So,
Right.
so at the end of the day, when you're looking at saying, okay, so what are some of the biggest pros and cons? Make sure you're trying to at least get some kind of an idea, some clean financials. I mean, grabbing 3 years worth of tax returns and getting clean financials is extremely important.
Yes.
Yes.
So I think that's always one of the bigger challenges in analyzing what you're buying as to what you're going to get, as far as your due diligence. And so the next thing is looking at, I've had some interesting ones where they've looked at equipment lists and, physically get your hands or somebody there to actually go through and look at equipment. They may be on the list, but if it's a bag of bolts, it's not going to do you a lot of good. So, and they may have had people that have been able to deal with that kind of issue with poor equipment and be able to produce some money, but certainly you're looking at acquiring that. The next thing is that try to get some overview about people. So we just got through talking about what keeps us awake at night is people more than anything else. And so when you're doing your due diligence, try to get some understanding of the people that are going to be involved. They're the ones that have created the revenue. So have some understanding of, what their talents and capabilities are, how long they've been there, is going to be key for, whether you're going to potentially acquire this business or not. Because if suddenly you've got an empty building, that's going to be much harder to do the lifting of what it's going to take. That's the assets you're buying. And so,
Sure.
so I think that's one of the biggest pros during negotiations, to get a true understanding of who those people are.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's really important. Another thing that I think, Daniel, that I think you should look at is try to get it inside the current owner's head. So how much autonomy do they have? Because if you're looking at acquiring another shop, and if you haven't got somebody that's really, really strong, that's going to take that position and leading that store. If if the owner has a lot of autonomy, then you have a much better chance of success, because of the fact that, it's been void of having some, maybe it's already had a good, strong leader in it that you could acquire when you're looking at taking over that business. So I think that that's really important. Just taking a look at, who's currently leading. And if the owner's suddenly going to go away, makes it a lot harder, and the value of that business is worth less in my mind. So there's a few ideas.
Awesome. No, that's great, Jim. Thank you. Craig, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, I can add a lot to that one, and I'd like to have Ben actually chime in on this, Ben, because I don't remember specifically Ben's specific store structure at each location. However, in my case, I bought 3 existing stores. The 4th one I bought mainly was because I did get the property, and it was in a prime location in a absolutely exploding area of what's called Junction City here in Oregon. Now, what I can tell you is that the 2 brothers that owned the facility left. So basically, I bought an empty building. And so there's 2 phases of this comment that I want to add to people like Danielle who are thinking about expanding. And Ben, you can add on to this. I don't know that I would ever buy an empty store again, mainly because of what we just talked about, finding good people, unless you're in a financial position where you can load up the bench 6 months prior and get people ready to go, and you'd want to take that risk. Okay. However, the second part of this is that if I had it to do all over again, even with the comments I made about my health situation over the last year, I would definitely look at stores that did not, let me rephrase that. I would look at stores that have 4 technicians or more. Here's why. 3 of my 4 locations are a 2 technician or 2.5 technician and 1 advisor set. What I don't like is the consistent 50% of production hit when one of them is sick or out on vacation or out on extended baby leave or whatever it may be. Yeah. And I think this is where I want Ben to chime in a little bit, because my reporting store, which is 5 technicians, 2 advisors, there's more adaptability to be able to absorb that now 25% that an employee is gone by the other 3 technicians versus, you can't expect 1 technician to absorb the full load, right? So I would be cautious, at least now looking back, on buying a 2 technician location, because it's tough. And I think that, man, if I really had to do all over again, I would look at stores with like 6, 7 technicians, so where you could be adaptable, you could move on if somebody was out as far as a tech and production, advisors as well, and you get more of the concentrated production, which is what we focus on, right? We focus on productions and hours sold. But here's the other thing. When you think about multiple locations, think about this. If you're only looking at a 2 technician, 1 advisor store, and you've got to outfit it with equipment, diagnostic equipment, testing equipment, you start to think about, well, now hold on a minute, it would be nice to kind of consolidate. So Ben, I don't know if you can kind of lend to that in regards to how you're looking at locations now in regards to maybe tech count or bay count. Can you add to that?
I actually kind of like 2 tech, 4 bay,
okay,
1 advisors, but only because my big stores, because I've taken the most floggings over 10 years from my big store that I report on that has 10 bays. It's got more inner working pieces. But we bought, like, Carrie is going to be like, if we have a guy that's down or going to be out, we just move. Carrie just loads up. I bought an Isuzu with a lift gate on it, an NPR. He just loads his tools on it. And if the guy called in at 7:30, Carrie's down there at 9 o'clock at the guy who's missing at that shop and does all his jobs for the day. I mean, so that's what we're working towards, is that we're going to have basically, the reason I say Carrie, Craig and I have to have a guy.
we all don't have the affordability of having a carry. I can tell you that much right now.
Well, a gentleman lived in Oregon and moved to Idaho, and I happened to hire him, unbeknownst to me, that he worked for Craig at one point.
And you're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome.
So that's what we're going to focus on, is just never having a situation, or because we have such a large seasonal fluctuation in car count, like my 1 store that in Coeur d'Alene that gets too busy, we're going to send Carrie down there 2 or 3 days a week to have 3 technicians, because we don't need 3 techs in December, but we do in July. So we're going to use that opportunity with the increase in car count to, pour some more fuel on the fire to burn the cars through faster because, you know, you only got so many months to, you know, increase your net profit. So and we're definitely going down that route. We know already that it's worked. So, and again, and he also is a good facilitator of training younger guys on how to do diagnostics. So not only is he there helping produce hours, but he's also there helping train the younger guys on becoming our technicians of the future. So
Cool.
I think that's really interesting, I have to say, because I listened to a podcast a couple of years ago, I think, that Frank Skandura had talked about this. The host asked him specifically, if you had to do it over again, what would you do? And Frank has an enormous shop that has many, many technicians, many service advisors. So if one person is out, the shop as a whole actually has the ability to absorb that, you know, and the customer doesn't really feel that. But he said that he would not do it this way again. He would not have a huge shop with many, many, you know, people within the same location. He would have many smaller locations with fewer technicians. And being a small location with, you know, 3 full-time technicians now, but I mean, at one point we had 1 technician working for us. And it's, you know, having 1 service advisor. If that service advisor calls out sick, who takes over for them? It's me. And that's unfortunate for all of our customers. But you know, Sean and I have thought about that extensively, and, you know, what do we want? And I think for us, you know, you guys both actually have really great advice for people, because, you know, having small locations, it's much easier to manage them, and it's much easier to kind of keep tabs on the financials. But then how do you manage when someone is out, and if they're out for a long period of time? So we're still at that point where we aren't really sure what we want, because the idea of having 1 big location with many, many technicians and many advisors is nice, but there's so much involved in managing all of those people all in one place. And again, the personality mix of those people. So
Yes.
you guys brought up a lot of really great points. I appreciate that.
And I think a part of that is it's part of the duplication where you're at a 1 store position now, Danielle, and so the struggle happens more because you're a smaller shop, and so
Mm-hmm.
when a person's out, you're losing a large percentage of your production staff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But as a multi-store owner, working with multiple locations that are, you know, 3 tech, 4 tech operations, they tend to run mean and lean, and so then you have the economies of scale to be able to look at plug and play from another store,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to support those locations and have that issue resolved, right? And
Yeah.
so most, you know, not most, but many of the guys that I work with, their cookie cutter model really is a 2 advisor, 4 tech scenario. I mean, so
Mm-hmm.
they're extremely profitable. They can run lean. And it's interesting when you see bigger operations, how there tends to be less efficiency in a large organization as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to smaller. If they don't have that much space, they tend to utilize that space extremely well. And
Yeah.
so that's what I tend to encourage guys that are doing multiple locations, is to have don't go for the Taj Mahal. They're more
Right.
difficult to manage on a multi-store level than they are managing a cookie cutter that you already know has that synergy, and you've already got, you know, just we talked about SOPs, things and processes that you're just dropping into place into another, you know, 4 bay, 6 bay operation, and
Yeah.
turn the key and away you go. So
Mm.
it's
Yeah.
just
And to
far more
Jim's
efficient.
point, I'll give you a very targeted situation. So at one of my smaller stores, I had a technician out for 6 weeks because they had a baby, and he went ahead and took the 6 weeks off. I lost 50% production for 6 weeks. We couldn't get around it. Yet, if you look at my reporting store, 5 technicians, 2 advisors, it's the most consistent. And if we were down 1 technician, the financial hit wouldn't have been as significant as the impact at that 1 smaller store for 6
Mm.
weeks, because
Yeah.
the rest of them could have absorbed it. So that's the example. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Cool. All right. Well, let's just change gears a little bit. Let's go to some questions that we have here, guys, and then we'll wrap up here in about 10 minutes with everybody. So let me go back to sharing my screen again here. We'll go back to there we go. Okay, so yeah, questions that we have. There was one. Hey, Sarah, are you still here? I forgot to introduce Sarah earlier. Sarah is actually in the background monitoring our chat and helping out with things. So, Sarah, do you have some other questions that we want to ask the group here?
Yeah, one came from the audience, from John. What would your position be on buying second shop that is currently running and successful in the same town as your first shop? Would you do?
So,
Sure.
Sure.
yeah, if I'd love to take the question if it's okay with you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so having coached guys that have had second locations in the same town, I think there's some things to think about. So first of all, is this second shop have a specialty? Could you look at a situation where you could capitalize on the fact that shop may be more specialized within that community, that would complement what you're going to do if you're currently a general repair shop? Second thing is there any barrier within the town, like a freeway, a river, anything that's separating the two locations that you would be able to draw from a certain demographic that maybe you're not currently drawing from that might be advantageous? Third thing is, do they have some ability to be able to, from a standpoint of just pure reputation, be able to look at building, because they have a certain target audience or something of that nature that might be still beneficial within that town. Fourth thing is, same town, how big is the town, right? So, I mean, if we're talking about the fact that this location could be 4 miles away in a highly dense area, it wouldn't scare me a bit to look at doing that. But if happens to be a shop that's right next door in a town of 5,000, then obviously I'm going to have a bigger question about you moving forward with that type of location. So I think some additional information is really needed, but having two shops within the same town wouldn't scare me a bit.
So I'll chime on to what Jim said. 100% of what he said. I am in a small town, about a population of 250,000 in Eugene, Oregon, but it is separated by I-5, what goes north and south, and two highways that go east-west, along with a river. And so 3 of the locations are within about 10 to 11 minutes of one another. But because of that division, it really helps sort out those 3 locations. The second thing I would add to that is, if you're looking at that second location, I would look at one that isn't 100% maxed out in regards to its capability of growth. I'm not saying look at it and say it's underperforming by 50%, but you've got to make sure that you're going in to give yourself some, I would say 12 to 24 months of growth potential, so that you can help yourself and not be stuck at what you need to do, which is maintain its 100% efficiency and sales, right? You want to give yourself some room for growth. So basically I'm saying, look for that diamond in the rough, somebody who's done an okay job, but you could come in with processes and technology and either the consideration for how it's going to complement the area or your other store, and then hit the nitrous button and go. And I wouldn't be afraid of it either. Right,
Great.
Ben?
All I gotta say, I'd rather own it than someone else. That's
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
hey,
Well,
the
good
next
answer.
Oh, yeah, very good answers. The next question was geared towards Craig, but love to hear from all of you. What are things you've done in your shop to create such a strong culture?
Okay, great question. 10, 15, 20 years ago, as an owner, you would not want to get involved with people personally. It is a risk nowadays, I understand, to get involved with people personally. But I know every single aspect of my employees' lives. One of my driving forces is that I am determined to change the trajectory of my employees' lives. And because I am emotionally invested, it becomes difficult when you lose somebody who is an important member of that team, but just is the potential cancer. I just got rid of 3 months ago my ace producing technician, but he was a malignant tumor that at the end of the day because of my involvement and everybody's involvement around him, acknowledged that he needs to make a move because it's not working for the team. And that at the end of the day is what you try to develop. You want to make sure that the decision is made so that A, as an owner, you can put the head on the pillow and sleep at night. And B, you want them to recognize that they have some things to fix and it's not working. Because you don't want to leave the situation thinking you could have done something, and you want them to understand that everybody is holding hands around you as you're circling the drain, and we can't help you unless you allow us to. And I think that's the biggest answer I can probably give. Does that help?
It's a great reply.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Before I turn
protect
it
the
over
team.
to Darren to wrap up, does anyone have anything to add on to that?
The only thing that I would add on is you set the standard for your shop. You're the one, and how you behave sets the culture. So you need to make sure that your behavior, how you treat your employees, how you treat your customers, how you talk about people when they're not in the room, whether it's a customer or an employee, that you're living by the culture that you want for your business. And if you're not doing that, then you need to look at yourself first and foremost and understand that you are the person who sets that. So if you need to check yourself and you need to check your attitude, you can't expect people to behave in a way that you don't yourself.
It's great. Okay. Awesome. Well, let's wrap her up, guys. First off, we want to say thank you to everybody for being here. Ben, Danielle, Craig, Mr. Jim, Sarah. Thank you guys all for being a part of this webinar today and sharing some of your insights and your knowledge and wisdom with all of us. It's been great to hear from you all. I also want to thank the audience for taking your time out of your busy schedules to be here, and we hope that you found some valuable stuff. If you look on your screen there, we have a QR code. So if you want to learn more about Pro Service and our peer group that we have, if you want to learn more about your one-on-one coaching, if you need help growing your business, if you want help with your advisors, if you want to be involved in a culture that's about people and not turn and burn and screwing people over, then we're here to help you with that. So please feel free to scan that QR code, and Tom, one of our salespeople, can reach out to you and meet with you and get you more information. Once again, thank you so much, Jim, for taking your time and being here, and Ben and Craig, Sarah, do you guys have any final words you want to leave with the audience before we end up here in 3 minutes?
Ooh, I'll go last, but everybody else can go. I'm going to go last. I'm going to plug you, Darren.
I would just say one more time, like, if you're reticent about not searching or going out and getting a coach, because I've been there, you're like, man, I don't know if I can afford one more line on the fixed cost month to month. Ignore that, because if you get a coach and you need a coach and you do what the coach says, it's exponential return on investment on making the consideration on getting a one-on-one coach. Don't stop getting drive-through coffee at $6 a day or $10 a day. If that's the difference between you having a coach and not getting a coach, cut something out somewhere else and make the leap. I can't stress that enough. Just do it.
Great advice, Ben.
I'll tack on to that as well. We would not be here. Without a doubt, we would not be here without having amazing people who set the standard in this industry that we aspire to. So if you are questioning whether or not it is for you, it is for you. There is the right coach out there for you who will help you achieve whatever goal you have set for yourself, and many that you haven't even considered.
Yeah. Great, Danielle. Thank you.
So I have one quick comment, and that is, as I coached many people over the decades, those that are successful are those that are willing to take more risk. And so it's scary to take risk. And so I think that a lot of the guys and gals that I've had the privilege of coaching over the years have been able to mitigate that risk by having somebody look over their shoulder. And so that's what's helped them to be more successful in whatever it is that they're looking to achieve. So those of you that are afraid of risk, sometimes it's helpful to have a board of directors or a team of people or even a coach to be able to help you try to mitigate that risk, and so that it gives you the ability to push forward.
Awesome, Jim. Thank you. Agreed 100%. Mr. Craig, you're last, buddy.
I'm gonna bring it home. All right. So first, Mr. Murphy, Coach Murphy, does not like it when we pay him wonderful compliments. However, I will tell you this to everybody who's out there who's either part of Elite or Pro Service or looking to potentially come into the family, as we say, right? But I will tell you this, that the difference between us and what I believe is everybody else out in the pond is that our collective moral compass is welded due north. And the success that we want to see out of everybody else around us is what sets us apart. So as much as we want to take risk, which without risk, you don't learn, without risk, you don't get the reward. So what you have isn't just one person, yourself, trying to get better. You have 150 people on your team wanting you to get better. And I think that's the difference between our collective group. And I think that is what has allowed us all who is here today, Ben, Danielle, right?
Yes, absolutely.
We would not be here if it wasn't for the secret sauce. So
Yeah.
that is the Elite Pro Service secret sauce right there.
That's right. Thank you, Craig. So thank you guys again. And once again, please scan that QR code if we can help in any way. Please let us know. We'd love to help you and get you into the Elite family, be a part of something bigger. So, all right, you guys have a great rest of your day. I hope that everybody in the audience has a great rest of your day too, and a good rest of your week. And thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
Darren.
you.
Guys.
Thanks, everybody.